Boom, we're live.
Woo, woo, woo.
Two and a half
Okay.
Oyajis, we're back. 2024. Victor is here. I am here. Everyone present. I
We're
like that
not
you're
live
ripping the.
exactly yet, but
Well,
okay, there we
there's
go.
the lag, but yeah,
Okay, there we
yeah,
go. I got the leg.
we are
Okay.
streaming.
Hi guys, good to see you. Black Tengu, haven't seen you in a
Buenas
while.
noches.
Cheers. Lara
Good to see.
Musio. Is that a Spanish name? Musio?
We've got the first Mr. Cordy Chip, Wing Star, Yoni from Finland, Dan H from Japan. Eric Bailey said that we can start. Lara Muzio.
Yes.
We've got Black Tengu. Mage goes X. And if you're in the chat, say hello.
Simon.
Good to
Hello,
see everybody.
Simon.
He's,
Hit that thumbs up button, guys. Hit the thumbs up button right away.
Shivers from Panama. Good to see you. Kurvers Tenshi from Germany. Is this my life? Hello from Sweden, indeed. Yes,
cool.
Here we are. Steve Miller. Good to see Steve Miller, the voice of America himself.
Steve Miller? Oh, he's here?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, in the
I haven't
chat.
seen him forever.
Boom. At Give Me a Break Man. He's just at Give Me a Break Man in you. He's not. He's ignoring me. He's only paying attention to you. I feel like I should block him now. Yes, we have Lara clarifying the name is Italian, as I know it is. And Eater, good to have you in here. Eater as well. Boom. And there's new comments.
Okay, cool.
Wow, flooding in. Greetings and salutations indeed. Good to have you in here, Mr. Steve Miller. The bearded one.
Lara must be Spanish because people who spell Lara with the Lara are Spanish, I think. Or anyway, not American. Yes, Lara?
Not American. There is a down to 99.9% of the world. But yeah. So
Case on live stream. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So
hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Red Man in Japan, I will be seeing you January 29th. Thank you for digging the beard. In fact, two beards here. We are the bearded.
Well, we both, hey, Red Man can grow both our beards overnight.
Yeah.
The guy's got an amazing beard. Very good beard.
Okay. Well, maybe we can be the three bearded amigos or something like that.
What do you mean you will be seeing Red Man soon? Would you like to tell the people what you're referring to?
It's basically you. So Victor called me the other night and said, I've been noticing all over my social media. I am a fan of Jimmy Carr, and I saw that he's doing a show at Tokyo Dome, and I live right beside Tokyo Dome, frankly. And so
really?
I was kind of
Tokyo Dome City Hall or something.
Yeah, it's in the complex of Tokyo Dome.
Okay.
And yeah, he's doing a comedy show there, and I'm like, wow, comedians like never come to, why would a stand-up comedian come to Japan in the first place? And he's actually extremely offensive, which is why I love him.
And he's a gentleman too.
Well,
that's what I love about him.
He has the gentlemanly accent. You know, he's actually Irish parents, but he went to Cambridge, so he speaks properly. But he's actually working class, but he's just taught to speak that way. But but super funny. He's coming to Japan. I was thinking, wow, maybe I might go for this. And then Victor's like, hey, dude, I got tickets with Red Man. We've got a third ticket. You want to come? I'm like, hell yeah. So you're coming up to Tokyo. We are going to go watch Jimmy Carr live, and I am looking forward to it.
Yeah. I didn't actually have the tickets yet. I just called you to tell you I'd be in town, and then you said you were interested, and I thought, okay, let's get tickets.
Anyway, so we got tickets, so we're doing it. So I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, so I was just talking to Simon about Hiko Simon that I might be. I was supposed to go up there the 29th, but the bus takes like 5 or 6 hours, and it seems like a lot of money to spend, and a lot of time to spend just to go up for a couple hours because the show is only 90 minutes long.
Is that all?
Well, yeah,
I mean, I suppose they'll have probably traumatized people need to be carried out at some point.
Have you? I guess you've never been to a comedy show in Japan of this size, right? No, me neither. We've been Renman and I have been to comedy shows here in Nagoya with pretty big comedians who've come from Tokyo. A woman who opened up for I forgot his name. The famous he looks Indian, but he's actually from Canada. Jason.
That's so wrong.
That's so racist, I know.
Wrong.
Well, you know, he looks Indian.
This is why we're going
from
to
India.
Car.
But he's actually Canadian.
Yeah, well, no. Oh, I don't know
Russell
who you
Peters.
mean now.
Russell Peters, yes.
Oh, I'm thinking of someone else. But anyway, there are lots of Indian Canadian
Oh, he was one of,
comedians.
okay, I should have said he's one of the first. Like back in the day where there was no non-white people up there. It was either black or
Okay,
white.
well, that was a long time ago, but yeah.
Well, yeah. Like recently, he started out back 30, 40 years ago, right? Russell Peters.
Yeah.
He's one of the first. Anyway, she opened up for him, and and she was like, he mentored her, and then she came to Nagoya, and we saw her. And I'm sorry to say, I can't remember her name now. But she was cool. Well, she's a Japanese American or Japanese Canadian.
People are guessing. Wingstar, long-time OG fan here. We've got Michael Peckett. Good to have you in here, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Along with everybody else. We got the J Vlog as well. Salutations. Good evening. So yeah, anyway, super looking forward to the live show. But anyway, I don't know. Victor called me. I like Victor. Can we do a 2.5 Oyajis? And Victor's like, yeah, I have tons of things to talk about. And I'm like, okay, so what are we going to talk about? And I never hear anything back, which is good because that means this is spontaneous.
Yes.
You've got like bazillions of things you need to get off your chest. And
well, let's start with little minor stuff for the people in the who don't really know Japan very well. So let me ask you if you've had this experience. I walk around after Christmas, and I would say Happy New Year to people. And Japanese people would say, no, you can't say it yet. And I'm like, no, in English you can say it beforehand as well.
Yeah.
Even if I said it on the 30th, they would say, no, it's tomorrow. Say, well, in English you can say Happy New Year beforehand, but in Japanese you have two different ways, right? Yo-yo toshio and akemashite omedetou gozaimasu. But the Japanese insisted. So I looked it up just to be sure. And apparently in French, it's the same thing. In France, you cannot say Happy New Year until it's New Year's. What about New Zealand? So that's my question for you. Well, because in America you can. I'm sure I looked it up, and yes, Americans do say Happy New Year before it's New Year's.
As an authoritative New Zealander who left when I was 22 years old in 1998 and has never been back, and of course everything is.
You've never been back?
I've been back on a couple of short trips, but I've never been back to live. So I feel guilty speaking anything about New Zealand now because I'm really like so far removed from it. But I guess you'd say Christmas. Once Christmas is over, it's Boxing Day, and there's recovering from all the sunburn and turkey and barbecue that you have over Christmas, and then. I don't know. New Year's. Do you say Happy New Year's? You don't really say Happy New Year's very much. I say it quite often now, and I do. You say it to Americans because with Americans it's so awkward saying Happy Holidays and and saying the wrong holiday and stuff like that. So New Year's is just neutral, so everyone like jumps to it as soon as possible. I don't know. I think you could say it. I don't think it'd be weird to say on the 30th. Happy New Year, like it's coming up, but I generally don't think people would bother saying it until it actually happens.
Okay.
I think it would.
Well, apparently Americans do. I looked it up, and apparently you can say it up to 2 weeks before it's New Year's.
I find myself in America is like because like even with my American coworkers who like non-religious coworkers, and I'd just say Happy Christmas. I mean, I'm not, and I don't mean that as like a religion, but people like they tense up if you say like the Christmas word is like the C word in America. So like there's so much sensitivity about offending somebody about that, even though no one gives a crap. Nobody's particularly religious in New Zealand. You just say it, but so yeah, it's easier. I find Happy Holidays to be so awkward. So yeah, I just like to skip.
Yeah, I don't like Happy Holidays
to New Year's.
But many of my Japanese friends who did say Happy Holidays to me, and I said, "Why are you saying that?" And they said, "Oh, we read it's the politically correct way to say," because I don't know if you're actually Christian.
Who cares? Who cares? I mean, how many people are actually Christian anyway? I mean,
The other Japanese foreign experience, expat experience I had was go ahead.
This is a good question. The J Vlog has a legit question here. I ran into this dilemma yesterday when I bought a bag of potato chips for the first time in a while. Do you open your potato chip bag from the top seam or the back? Do you tear it?
The top. I do the top. But my wife does the side, the back of it. Yeah.
Well, I insist on trying to do it from the top, but in Japan they use like super reinforced like binding on the top of those packs. They make it impossible, so I did give up and do it on the side because they just force you to do it that way. But in principle, I always open it at the top.
I feel like we're talking about chimpanzee. Have you ever seen a chimpanzee eat a banana?
I'm sorry, have I ever seen a chimpanzee eat a banana?
Yeah, they don't peel it like we do. They open it from the side, and apparently it's the way to do it.
Okay, well, yeah.
They open
Monkey
it
see,
now.
monkey do. Not that it's a monkey, of course. But,
Okay, here's another
yeah.
cultural oddity that I experienced this week. It's now the 10th. What is it? No, it's the 15th, 14th. Last week, one of my coworkers, a Japanese woman, very, very good. Her English is very good. She says to me, so I guess you haven't gone to Hatsumode. And before I can even answer, she goes, of course not. You're a Christian. Why would you go to Hatsumode? But Hatsumode, for those of you who don't know, is visiting the shrine for the first time in the new year. And you can technically go up. Well, you can go anytime. I mean, the first time you actually visit, it's called Hatsumode. The first time you visit a shrine after the New Year's. But if you're really into it, you can go on the first or that night, right? The night that they're ringing the New Year's and fight all the crowds because it's super, super crowded that night. Or the next day, which is also very, very crowded. Or you can go up to I think in certain shrines like in Tokyo and Isejingo, it's only until the 5th they have all the decorations up and then they take them down. So official Hatsumode is over, but people still go up to weeks later. I mean, but I just thought it was funny that she assumed I would not go because I was Christian. I would just let my family go by themselves.
I mean, there's the old Japanese thing. What is it that they're married? They're born Shinto, they're married Christian, and they die Buddhist, right? They go through all the coming of age stuff as all going to the Shinto shrine. The marriage is Christian wedding because it looks cool, and they want a foreign priest, and the funeral is Buddhist. I've never noticed hard and fast rules about anything around this here. I mean, there are serious religious people, but they're generally they're a small percentage, and
I feel like it's more like serious superstition, or just
flexible.
Or routine, like I got to do it. I got to do it. It's on my routine. I got to do it.
Well, honestly, the Hatsumode, like, does anyone who goes to Hatsumode, are they doing that out of a sincere belief in the Shinto, God system, or is it just a New Year's tradition that everybody does? I mean, which is why I did it. Who cares?
Yeah.
And if it just if it gets me extra, I didn't go this year, but yeah.
But you'll eventually go. I assume.
Sure.
Yeah. We haven't gone yet either, actually.
Just in case. Plus, it's a good way to hedge your bets in case the Shintos are right. Just in case that's heaven, we get a few extra little points. We get a few minutes up there.
Right. So 16 years ago, when my dog was still alive, we went to Hatsumode, my wife and my dog and I. And when we came back, the fire trucks had surrounded our apartment building. We used to live in an apartment building before we lived in this house. And the woman on our floor had died of smoke inhalation because her kids had she had 5 kids, and the youngest had knocked over the heater, started a fire, and she went in to save the kid. The kids all survived, but the mother died. So that was our good luck. It's supposed to be for good luck, I think, most of the time. But it's a shame.
Wow,
it was a horrible story. But I got a worse story for that. Of course, that day, the whole connected to that. No, actually not worse, but it's icing. No, it's icing on the cake. Icing on the cake. It is icing. Here's the meat of it.
The dead mother cake. Okay.
The mother cake. This is 16 or 17 years ago. So, about the youngest son was about 15 years old. Okay, and then he had 3 or 4 siblings. There was a huge family, and they lived in an apartment, 3 LDK, just like we did. But it was just me and my wife and my dog. Anyway, and I used to see the mother and son walking almost every day past my window on the way to the elevator to go get videos and blah blah. Anyway, one day, of course, that day that she died, we never saw the family again because the apartment was unlivable. They all moved out. But about 3 or 4 months later, I ran into him with my wife as I was walking to the supermarket. And I said, konoida, gochitsou-sama deshita.
Oh, no.
I said, I was nervous. I wanted to say goshusho-sama deshita, which is my condolences, but I accidentally said, thank you for the food. And my wife no, he means goshusho. I said, yeah, I'm sorry, I was just nervous. And so, I accidentally told this poor kid. And I never saw them again after that. So, and I was 17 years old. The kid must be 32 years old now, so 30 years old.
Yeah. Well, I really didn't think you could make the dead mother story worse, but you did. Congratulations.
That was worse. That's my worst faux pas I think I've ever done in my life. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
but I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I want to get your reaction on.
Sure.
So of course, did you feel the earthquake?
You know what? I didn't. I sort of, I know half an hour later, I noticed the social, and apparently it was big in Tokyo. I was like,
oh, really?
But I don't know where I was. I didn't feel it.
Okay. Well, our houses were shaking here.
Yeah. Well, you were closer, of course, but it was probably big earthquake.
And it was my kids' first experience, and the first thing they said was, "Oh, we don't like Japan. Let's move back to America."
Wow.
Then we had to tell them that America has earthquakes too sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's not exactly going to cure it. And then they calmed down. But they both jumped under the table as they were taught to.
Good training.
And my wife was at the supermarket at the Aeon shopping mall. Do you have Aeon shopping malls here? It's like a big chain of shopping malls. Yeah. Aeon, the Aeon shopping
of course.
mall.
Yeah, we have them in Tokyo. Yeah.
Okay, so she was at the Aeon shopping mall, and she said the scariest thing was that everybody's phone,
all the
warning
system, at the same time.
Yeah, everyone's alarm system went off at the same time, and just scared the shit out of her and her mother. She was with her mother, and they were just scared shitless. And I was, which I thought would have been pretty cool.
Yeah,
I was taking a nap, and I woke up to the sound of the phone, the alarm.
That happens with the train when you're on the train as well, and everyone's phones on the train start going crazy. I remember once that happened, and an old lady was getting angry at everybody. Turn your phones off. But,
oh, really?
Yeah. But it is freaky. It's like a nuclear attack is coming or something. But that's the idea, right? The idea is to get your attention. So yeah.
And I got it. I put it on my Instagram, but the television announcer woman was yelling, "Nigete kudasai! Nigete kudasai! Tsunami akimasu kana!" And she was screaming, and I think a lot of Japanese said she seemed to be really, really worried because apparently at the Fukushima, when the Fukushima earthquake happened, they did not really enforce they didn't warn people to run enough. They were blamed, or they thought, and of course I don't remember. I don't know about that, but.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, they certainly decided after that they would, rather than paint it as news, like the Coast Guard is warning, please everybody move away from the coast in an orderly manner. They realized that the more urgently you say it, a bit like the phone warning things, if it'll make one person move where they wouldn't have moved on the normal message, they decided to change the terminology. I remember after Fukushima they announced that they're going to change the wording from "nigete kudasai" to like "nigero" or something like that. Like they were gonna make it.
Well, she would. But urgent. The urgency of her voice was pretty apparent. She was screaming,
which is the right thing to do. So yeah. I mean,
Yeah. So to wrap that little, I guess we have a lot of things to talk about. To wrap that up, I think the death toll is up to 212 as of today.
Yeah.
And there's still like about 100 people or so missing.
And so some of the parts of that peninsula are still like completely cut off. So it's
oh my god, it looks like Gaza. Actually, Gaza looks worse, but yeah, it looks like Gaza. I can see you. You're not looking forward to this comparison at all.
I don't know where to go with that one, but no, the tsunami that hit Suzu City, like it wiped like.
It looks like a war. It looks like a war zone. Like, some areas, and their fires were started, and whole areas were cleaned up. Yeah. Wing Star, is that Megan? It looks like Megan.
I think that's different. No, Wing Star. Like different. I know who you're thinking, and Wing Star is not Megan. Wing Star is lovely. Well,
that's
so is Megan, but yeah.
And she had a baby. Theodore Sharp said, "Hey, speaking of other YouTubers, Zach tells me that the Hanami will be this year on March 23rd, I believe, which is
which is the right timing. It's supposed to start like early this year. The forecast just came out that it would be like March 17, so that would mean probably March 23 is the right timing. Typically, we do the Hanami like April 1st, but it might be over by then, so that kind of makes sense.
And I haven't been since, I don't remember when. It must be since COVID, before COVID. So
yeah.
So I may try to, even though I'm going up on the 29th, I may try to make it 2 trips this year. So we'll see. Keep your eyes open, or keep your ears open to that. Another. We'll hit the news. You want to hit some news stories real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Of course, the airplane collision the next day on April 2nd.
Yeah, 2024. The first was the
2
earthquake, and the
days were
second
like
was the plane thing.
it's almost like a Disney series, right?
So
Every episode
actually,
something happens.
I had a thing with that. I was
Oh.
actually I had to go on a quick trip to Fukuoka on not the like the day after the plane crash at Haneda, and the flight was from Haneda, and they were canceling like dozens and dozens of flights because the runway was out, but my flight was okay like 1 hour before, and then 1 hour before it got canceled. So I was
Oh.
going to give up, but then sort of looked to see if I could find another flight. And like the last flight of the day leaving from Narita, they still had seats. So I grabbed the seat on that. And I actually had rushed from Haneda. It's like 2 hours, or more than 2 hours to get to Narita. I managed to get to Narita like just as the plane was boarding to get on the flight. It was a bit of drama actually that impacted me, but that was
At
crazy.
that moment, did you know what had happened?
It was like the day after the crash.
Oh,
So
okay.
the problem was the runway was closed because the exploded planes were still all over it. So yeah, it led to all these cancellations, and I was wrapped up in that. But
so I have a student who's an older woman who's very intelligent. She's very knowledgeable about Japanese politics and history, and the SDF, the Self-Defense Forces. DJay, and she told me her theory. And I just want to run it by you.
The plane crash, yeah.
Yeah, she says that what happened was that the Coast Guard, was it Coast Guard? The Coast Guard plane.
So not
the Coast Guard,
forces, yeah, civilians.
Oh, so they're not connected?
They're not. In China they are, but in Japan, Coast Guard are civilian forces. Although they're quasi-military, they do have guns on some of their ships, but they're not officially part of the SDF.
Oh, really? I did not know that. Okay. Well, I thought they were connected. The Kaiho, yeah, I just assumed it was military.
Kaijo Hoankan, which is different to the Kaijo DJay.
Okay. Yeah. I just looked at the first kanji and assumed it was the same. Okay, so Frederick the 10th is going to have a speech in 10 minutes. Oh, Denmark. Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, so you know the Queen of Denmark has abdicated the throne, so they're going to announce a new queen.
And the new queen will be Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Will be Australian. So yeah, that's something. The Australians got into the throne of Denmark faster than they got onto the throne of their own country.
Are you serious?
Well, Australia's monarch is always British, and there's never been an Australian monarch in the British monarchy. So yeah, Australia is ruled by English people.
Right.
But yeah, it's funny. So the first Australian to become royalty was not of Australia; it was of Denmark. So there you go.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, apparently they're going to announce the new queen there. Anyway, back to the theory.
What caused the plane crash? Yes.
Yes. Well, now it doesn't make any sense because she assumed that the DJay is full of a bunch of high testosterone youngins, right?
Yes.
Guys, yeah, because they're all military.
Well,
a lot of
I mean, and people who can't get jobs. I say this as an army brat myself. People who go into the armed forces, there are different types.
They have limited they like a bit of promise. Prospects, yes. Yeah. Thank you. So last summer there was one here in Nagoya, actually north of Nagoya a little bit. One DJay officer got pissed off at at one other older man, and he started shooting. I don't know if you remember this, and he ended up shooting like 3 or 4 other guys. And he said he was just pissed. He was trying to hit one of them, but he couldn't. He was kind of hiding behind someone. So
like stormtrooper aim.
So they were doing their shooting practice, and he ended up shooting a bunch of other guys. Anyway, and there was some helicopter accident also a few months ago. I think November. I think in Okinawa. But anyway, her point is this kind of stuff happens all the time, and she thinks it's because they think they're better than everyone else, and they ignore the warnings from the what do you call the tower?
The control tower, yeah.
Yeah, the control tower. And so, I don't know.
So
I mean, why did the crash happen? I never actually.
So there's 2 thoughts that come from that in terms of people also asking what happened with the plane crash. So the first thing that happened, the only survivor of the Coast Guard plane. So what happened, of course, was the Coast Guard plane pulled onto the runway early when the plane hadn't landed yet, and the landing plane landed on top of the Coast Guard plane, blew it up completely. The Coast Guard plane that had supplies, relief supplies, it was taking to the earthquake relief.
Right, yeah.
But the big airliner landed on top. Everybody escaped safely from the airliner, but everybody except the pilot was killed on the Coast Guard plane. The pilot was being carried off to hospital and apparently told the press on the way to hospital that the control tower told me it was okay to go on the runway. It was the control tower's fault.
Oh.
And so when the Ministry of Transport launched their investigation, of course, the control tower is run by the Ministry of Transport. They're all sort of bureaucrats in the tower, right? They all work for the government. So normally they'd probably find out what happened first and then release the news. But since they were being blamed by the media already that it was their fault, like within like 12 hours, the Ministry of Transport said, here are the tapes of the exchange between the pilot and the control tower. The control tower said, hold at the holding point in front of the runway. And the airplane acknowledged holding at the holding point in front of the runway, and then there was no other exchange, and it went onto the runway. And so then they blamed the pilot. Oh. However, a couple of days after that, when they kept investigating more, they did also find out that apparently when the plane pulls onto the runway when it's not supposed to, there's a massive warning light that goes on at the controller's desk. And apparently he didn't notice it. Oh, I hate that this camera's got AI activated where it locks. Never mind. So apparently the controller was apparently didn't see the big flashing light that there's a plane about to get smushed because he was distracted doing other things. So, you got the stream of consciousness of sides blaming each other of the investigation before they figure anything out. And so it looks like there's kind of, both sides. The pilot shouldn't have pulled onto the runway, and the control tower definitely should have noticed the warning light that a plane's about to get destroyed.
So nobody said, no, my balls are too big, so I couldn't hear.
Not yet. Balls being too big is not yet one of the problems. But, since we have the red value in here, my dad, there's a personal story. You said the shooting range story. The New Zealand military, when my dad was in the army, they changed rifles from the old American Vietnam War M16s. They changed to these Austrian Steyr rifles, which are these cool, they look like laser guns from the future. They're these stubby, cool looking. I think they use them in Die Hard, like the Hans Gruber's gang used them in Die Hard. Oh, really? Cool looking sort of futuristic weapons.
I'm impressed you remember the bad guy's name. Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber, the best bad guy of all time. Are you kidding? But when they were first testing out these machine guns at shooting ranges in New Zealand, apparently there was a shooting range accident. Nothing to laugh about, but apparently the owner of the shooting range was like putting the targets up and was like behind like the paper or whatever. And someone didn't notice and just fired and shot the owner of the range 35 times with an automatic machine gun.
Jesus Christ.
However, he survived.
Whoa.
And so my dad was kind of high ranking in the New Zealand infantry at the time, and he kind of confided in me. It was big news in New Zealand that someone was shot 35 times at a shooting range. And my dad kind of confided in me, he feels kind of conflicted about the whole thing, because on the one hand, he's really glad for the guy's family that, the guy survived being shot 35 times. But on the other hand, as head of the infantry, if they ever shoot anyone 35 times, they really would hope that he would be dead. This is the problem when you're in the business.
Maybe these guns are not working very well.
Yeah, these are defective. I shot him 35 times. He's still alive. I want a refund. So it's kind of complicated business.
When was this? This was, I guess, when you were a kid.
This is this is when in the early 90s. This is when just before my dad retired. So yeah, probably maybe 89 or 88. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So that's January 1st and January 2nd. January 3rd, I don't know if you know this, there's a big market fire in Kitakyushu. Did you hear about that?
Yes, the big fire. That's right.
So it seems like every single day, a huge
volcano erupted yesterday. It just keeps going. The hits keep coming.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yesterday? I kind of lost count. On the 4th, on January 4th, a woman in Tokyo, and I don't know the details yet, but you probably do. I just didn't read up, but a woman in Tokyo on the Yamanote train.
Yeah, stabbed.
You heard about stabbed?
Yes,
she stabbed
stabbing.
Four guys. Yeah.
And everyone on Gaijin Twitter immediately assumed, well, they must have all been molesters or something, which I thought was a bit harsh on the victims.
Yeah.
To me, I heard that, and I was just like, please, not on the Yamanote line. We all have to use that train.
Well, she had her knife, so she was asking for it, obviously.
God, yeah.
Asking to stab people.
Yeah. But then the next day, there was a copycat stabbing on the Fukutoshin line as well. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have that in my head.
NeoBear66 is asking, Victor, do you still do laundry videos? You haven't
no, but I, you know what? In 2 more days, I'm gonna be free. I have a couple.
Well, that could mean all sorts of things, Victor.
Well, I have one of my jobs, contracts stops in 2 days, so I'm gonna have a lot of time. I'm doing these business classes, and they're gonna. I give them final exams on Wednesday, so I'll have some time, and I do have I still have to want to do a video blog about my wife's brother who passed away in the funeral, and things about, that's a laundry video. That's a heavy thing. By the way, the word anniversary in Japanese is, of course, as you know, kinembi.
Kinembi, yeah.
But the Japanese don't use it for negative things at all. So, like, we would say it's the 10-year anniversary of my father's death, or of 9/11.
There's specific words for that, right? Yeah, Kinen's like a celebration day, so it's like, he's gone. It's got that sort of
So when the first time I accidentally said that years ago, luckily I didn't do it this time. I said, that's the anniversary of something negative, and they're like, why are you saying that? Why did you say kinembi? And I said, well, because it happened exactly a year ago today. Like, but it's not a good thing. It's like, yeah, well, in English we would say anniversary, and they were confused.
It's got a celebratory thing to it. So right. I haven't thought about that so much, but that's right.
But interesting thing, on the third month, on the anniversary of his death every month, I always call my in-laws. Yeah. Just to say hello and how are you, and just to say, how you guys doing, right? Because of course losing your son is one of the worst things. But they don't even. My wife never remembers. They don't remember. Oh yeah, they're like, oh yeah, that's today.
Well, they're taking it
so nobody seems to care, because in Japan it's really different. They have every 49 days. They have like completely different.
Right. They do mark it on different. It's a big process, and you can't send them ningajoes, and you've got to send ningajoes to everybody saying, "Don't send me ningajoes," which seems
which is bizarre.
More ningajoe than sending ningajoes. It seems
Yeah, you have to send postcards to everyone to remind them that you cannot send postcards, and do not send us postcards this year.
It's literally like the first rule of Fight Club, except it's about dying, so that's probably appropriate. But you do not talk about everybody. I'm sending you a card to tell them we don't send us cards.
But I did have one nice thing that happened by chance completely on the third month anniversary of my brother-in-law's death. His daughter emailed me, lined me, and asked me an English question. Nice. She said, "Can you help me with my homework?" You know, and she'd never asked me for help before, so I thought that was.
I'm sure you responded, "That would be cheating. Go learn yourself."
No, it was really nice.
That's lovely.
Yeah, to get a question from her, but it was a really hard question. It was like, "What's the difference between do you mind my asking you a question and do you mind me asking you a question?"
Right? Yeah, I'd have to think about that. That's like, what if you tell her and it's wrong? Like, she'll never ask you again.
Well, she showed it in her textbook that it showed both, right? Yeah. And she said why, and I had to look it up, and I discovered that the possessive was only acceptable until about 50 or 60 years ago. So originally only the possessive was acceptable, but colloquially now we say me as well, and you. Do you mind you? Do you mind her? Do you mind her? Yeah. Because anyway, it's called adjective. It's right. Not very interesting.
English is basically just breaking down completely into like a smush of alphabet.
Yeah, but I had to look it up myself, and I'd never been asked that question. But so we had the Yamanote stabbings, right? And then we had, at least on the 7th, I couldn't find anything really happening on the 6th or 7th. But there was something. On the 6th or 7th, U.S. Steel was bought by Japan Steel. It's not
that's right. And Biden immediately said, "Oh, we're going to investigate it for national security." Yes. So that's right. I remember that.
But I wanted to ask you, since maybe you had some thoughts. I don't have really any. I was surprised by that. I was surprised that Japan Steel is so big that they could just buy U.S. Steel. But do you know anything about that?
It's still pretty big. I mean, it's kind of famous, right? It's not as big as it used to be, but because Japan used to be the biggest shipbuilding country in the world, they had lots of steel using industries, and
I didn't know that.
Lots of steel making. So I don't know. I guess it's survived. I mean, it's all been taken over by Korea now, so they're surviving, but they're not what they used to be. But I imagine they're doing a lot better than American steel. But of course, American steel workers unions and so on are still really powerful in the Democrats, and given that they're kind of there's this weird paradox that the majority, it seems, of Americans that I've met who live in Japan overwhelmingly support the Democrats. Yet the Democrats are always they're aligned with interests that don't like Japan, like the auto workers unions And in this case, the steelworkers unions. And it means generally American, presidencies, I've noticed, are always kind of standoffish towards, things like Japanese companies taking over American companies and stuff like that.
Well, it's not
And that's
not
what's
popular
happening here. So, yeah.
Were you aware that the Rockefeller Center was bought by the Japanese like in the 1980s?
No idea. And who cares?
Who cares? No, but Americans really cared.
But it's like
in those days
that takes over everyone, and Japan's like America's best friend, or at least it's supposed to be. So they shouldn't care.
It is. But, So in the 1980s, Japan was buying up some prime property,
the real estate stuff,
high profile real estate spots like the Rockefeller
Plaza. Yeah.
Oh, right. Is that a real place?
I wish it were. I think it is. Of course, it's an actual building that they filmed it. I don't think it's actually called Nakatomi Plaza. But in my heart, it's a place that exists. Yeah.
But at the time when Japan bought the Rockefeller Center, though, the Americans were really pissed off about it, and there was a lot of stuff in the press about it. The percentage of property owned by Japanese at the time was still something like 1% or something. So it was a tiny percent. But the Rockefeller Center, that's so American, and they hated it.
I mean, the fact that Americans are so proud of the Rockefellers to the point of being nationalistic against Japan. I mean, at some point. But this was the 80s, right? This is when people were like having parties,
1983 or something,
and stuff like that. So it's.
I think it must have been 1987 or something. I was in New York at the time, so yeah. Oh, I don't know much about this, but the former prime minister's house, the Meijiro Goten.
Yes. No, actually,
burned up on this. Yeah,
I could almost throw a rock at that house from here. Not quite. It's about a kilometer away from here, but really close to my house. So, Kakoi Tanaka of the Lockheed scandal, the first.
That's why I remember his name. Yes, that was like 35 years ago.
Yeah, that was the first big major bringing down the government corruption scandal that Japan had. We're right in the middle of another one right now. But it's kind of ironic that in the middle of possibly the first corruption scandal to beat the one that Kakoi Tanaka did, and he was so rich, he was so corrupt, he got so rich. He owns this enormous property in the middle of one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Japan. It's got a forest and a huge house. And his daughter, Makiko Tanaka, who was foreign minister and was fighting against all the bureaucrats during Koizumi's time and became kind of a sort of a comedy figure because of that. I don't know if you remember all the fuss with her, but it turns out that Kakoi Tanaka is dead. Her children are both big hotshot politicians. So the daughter was apparently lighting incense at a shrine. They also built it on the property, and it kind of tipped over and burned down the whole family compound. So I don't know. There's something that feels appropriate in that somehow, somewhere. But yeah.
Well, that is coincidental. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's pretty old. I think she's 71 or something. Right?
Is she that old now? Jeez, I've been here too long. You know what? She early 2000s. She was a famous politician. She's probably in her 50s then, so that would make her in her 70s now. Yeah.
So I was wrong. That scandal was 1976.
The Lockheed scandal.
Yeah, that's 47 years ago. Yeah.
Dan H, as always, by the way, Dan H is awesome. He actually follows the news deeply, and he makes always really insightful comments, including here. The reason why Japan Steel are trying to buy US Steel a lot for their worth is the Biden stimulus plan. Okay, so they want to get the Biden stimulus money that they're feeding to keep the American steel industry alive. Well, that makes it a worthwhile investment, I suppose. Okay, that does make sense. Yeah.
Redman in Japan says his favorite Tanaka is Hitomi, which I'm afraid might be a porno actress. I'm not sure.
Yes, I shouldn't show knowledge of that, but
I don't know.
Yes, she's famous for having a large upper body.
Okay.
So yeah, although you didn't hear that from me. How do I know that? I don't know that. So you must have told me that, Victor. I couldn't know that.
No. Actually, I don't really know any actresses. I know, I do know there's someone named. When I first came to Japan, 1991, the prime minister was
1991.
Mizutani.
No. Miyazawa.
Is it Miyazawa?
I'll bet you it was Miyazawa 91. He worked in the Ministry of Finance during World War II. Japanese Prime Minister in 1991. Someone in the chat, see if you can beat us. Kiichi Miyazawa or Toshiki Kaifu. Miyazawa. I was
okay.
Right.
So
I know my 1991 Japanese.
And I was talking about Miyazawa, and one of my students this is a student now. He said, "You mean the porno actress?" And
God.
then I didn't, and that's how I remember. Oh, now I know that there's a porno actress named Miyazawa. Yeah. Chiharu. Yeah, apparently Chiharu Miyazawa. So I don't know.
I don't know if he was the only Japanese PM from the working class, but he certainly made up for lost time by setting up corrupt construction contracts. So the reason that there's a bullet train line to Niigata is because of Kakoi Tanaka.
Oh.
Basically, his political sponsor, his benefactor, was the guy who happened to own a whole bunch of useless land in the mountains between Niigata and Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
And when the prime minister came up with a plan to build a bullet train to Niigata, that forced the government to acquire all of this useless land at inflated cost from his benefactor, who funneled the money back through and also all the construction companies from his hometown all got the construction work for the bullet train line. So both the landowners and the construction companies all fed huge kickbacks back to Tanaka, which is why he owns a lovely house here in central Tokyo, which just got burned down. But he started the construction slush money sort of corruption, which has been a big part of Japan. But
it's pretty infamous. Japan's been pretty well known for that. Yeah. Okay, so that's the sorry to see you go, Ripples of Scotch. That's the big news here in Japan. But of course, I got to ask you the requisite question: do you have any goals for this year? Any resolutions or anything you want to accomplish? And how's your arm doing? I assume that's last time I talked to you, your arm.
The rehab is really working. I feel again old man problems, but I'm about a month away from getting back into kickboxing, which I really want to do. I miss that.
I saw a kickboxing thing on your Instagram, but I got to assume that was old.
It was old. Yeah. You posted that. So I posted that because I was actually remixing music. I've installed some DJay apps and I was making music mixes, and I just wanted to post the music, and I needed some video for it. And I thought it was fun to put some old kickboxing stuff on. But I want to get back and do the real thing soon. Also, I'm thinking about taking up yoga. I did it years and years ago, and I didn't like it because I find kickboxing, I find literally getting punched in the face more fun than yoga and easier. But it's kind of, especially, I want to build flexibility that is really healthy and so on, and it's all that resistance and stuff. So I want to do that. I'm thinking about
Speaking of your injury, I've been working on the deep squat, not a weighted squat, but just a deep squat.
Yeah.
Because Japanese, and for those of you who don't know, they can keep their heels on the ground.
Yeah.
And they can squat deeply. And they'll still sit at a train station, on the platform, or in front of the
convenience store.
Yes, in a deep squat, and we cannot. We foreigners cannot do it. Most of us.
It's a wonder they don't poop. It's an ideal position for pooping, apparently, as well. But I don't know. They're just trained. They've got these legs. Often Japanese have shortish bow legs, which are good if you squat in rice fields and stuff like that all day. But I can't last 30 seconds on a squat toilet. But
they're tough. Yeah. I can
actually kneel on my heels, but I can squat on my heels, but horrible. The circulation just stops.
It's hard. It's hard, but so I've been working on that. But I've been working to the point. I learned about something called goblet squatting, where you get a heavy weight in your front. Yeah. I won't do it, but I'll just you hold the weight in front of you and then squat deep, and the weight itself will help you get that flexibility by pushing you in deep, right?
No.
So I have to warn you. I overdid it about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, what does that mean?
To the point where I sprained some tendon inside my thigh somewhere.
Oh, and you're saying that was from a specific exercise?
From just stretching.
From just stretching. It was just a stretch injury. This is the story that you're spreading around, that you have your inner thigh muscles damaged from.
So I've done it on occasion. I've overstretched to the point that I've actually hurt myself more than I have by working out. So I'll lift up. I'll do 100-kilogram bench. Yeah. And I'll do sets of this, blah, blah. I'll do heavy weights, right? No problem. I mean, I'm sore the next day, but I'm not injured.
Yeah.
But I'll overstretch, and suddenly my back's out or my legs are limping the next day. So be careful with stretches. That's all I'm saying. Stretches are also quite painful sometimes for people our age.
I know. Be careful. By the way, a handle name I don't recognize. Maybe you recognize Vardinas Pavadinas from Lithuania says, I assume, because apparently every Lithuanian can do these deep squats.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So something I didn't know about Lithuania. Good to have you in the chat.
Well, of course, not everyone, but I think I'm pretty sure most Americans cannot. And I would be surprised if most Europeans can. But stretching is tough. You have to be careful stretching.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Be careful. Oh, dude, the other day, I'm doing this. Okay, I'm turning around to put on my shoe.
Are we already at this point in the stream that you're showing your groin off to the stream? Okay, let's do this.
Let me put the camera down. I'm turning around to put on my shoe like this. You just put on the shoe, right?
Okay.
And I sprained something in my lower back. Oh my God.
That happens, yes.
So then I realized that although I'm doing all these, these heavy weights, that I can't do something simple like putting on my shoe. So after that, I started going to the gym and getting 4-kilogram weights and doing reverse behind the back, like dumbbell curls. And people are looking at me like, what are you doing? But I'm like, I'm just practicing putting my shoes on, man, because that's what you got to
do. Yeah.
So be careful. So yeah, your goals. We interrupted.
Goals. Well, one is not to do that.
Sprain your groin. Yeah.
Possibly try to improve my my crotch angle on the camera, like you've just done.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, maybe yoga. Maybe I've been thinking about getting back into refereeing rugby. My son's getting older now, so that's
is he doing rugby?
He's not. But because I don't have to take him to sports every weekend, I'm getting there's a bit of time back that I can sort of, what did I used to do when I had weekends? So starting to think about that, which is kind of good. I don't know, a bit of travel. I like being in America last year. I think I'm gonna have to travel a bit for work anyway this year. So a bit of travel, a bit of yoga, a bit of rugby refereeing would be fun. Really want to get back into kickboxing though, and I must admit, just while I can, I figure I've got like 10 years of being able to like exercise like full out before I have to really slow down. And from that perspective, I did a half marathon when I was in America. It'd be really nice to at least do another half marathon. I don't know, full marathon I still feel like is like, I'm not going to rush to anything like that, but I want to sort of test myself out on another half marathon. So we'll see what happens.
I did one half marathon and two of my toenails fell off.
Yeah,
and I was in so much pain, and I trained for it. My time was good, an hour and 50 minutes, but it was misery. I would never do that again, probably. But I feel like I should.
Yeah, mine was miserable as well. I ran stupidly fast when I did it. It was really cold, but it was cold and everything. But I'll do it again, so we'll see. So I don't know, stuff like that. I don't know. What are your goals for the year?
I want to get that deep squat.
The deep squat.
My leg. I want to get that deep squat. Yeah, let me see. But Tanaka's parents were poor dairy farm, and their farm went bankrupt, and they're destitute. Oh, he left school his teen to become a construction worker. Yoshio Kodama played part in this. Okay, because he's not like a Elon Musk.
Not at all. No, quite the opposite. No, he's the working. I mean, he's a different. Again, he is the archetypal corrupt politician in Japan. But yeah, he came from humble roots, and good on him for that. He was a smart guy by look at it. Didn't finish high school. Was something else I heard about him.
That's amazing.
But he came good, although also was maybe too good at being a Japanese politician. But yeah. Hey, we got Tai Nakamura in here. Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, I haven't seen him for a while, man.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody for a while.
That's right. Coming back, goals for the year.
So actually a couple deep squat. Well, those are a couple, physical goals. I want to be able to bench 90 kilograms 10 times. I'm up to 8 times right now, so I think I'm two reps away from that. So I'll get that, and I want to increase my pull-ups to a clean 12. I can only do 7 now. So, but with the wide grip, which is really hard, that's my weakness. That's really my weakness.
Not want to do what I did to my shoulder.
Oh yeah,
I would love to be able to do a pull-up. That'd be a good goal for this year. To do 1 pull-up would be a good goal. I might add that to the list.
But more importantly, I'm trying to be a better father. Which means, which recently I want to ask you about this. I've recently come to the conclusion that we are way too easy on our kids. All of us in Japan, generally speaking. And I was thinking, you got to force them to do shit. And I noticed that when I force them to do stuff, they respond quite well.
Yeah.
And then I remembered years ago when I was teaching at the YWCA. I was teaching a high school class.
Yeah.
And I was Mr. Friendly Teacher, and I thought, I'm going to kind of be friends with these kids, right? Which is a mistake.
No respect. No respect.
No. But so one day I put my foot down and I said, open your goddamn books and we're going to do this. And they responded very well. I realized they just need a strong hand.
Yeah.
So the other day I wake up my kids at 6:30 in the morning instead of 7, which is when they get ready for school. And I made them get up and get dressed quickly. And they were out on time. They didn't lag. Like usually we have to push them out the door because everyone's waiting. You know the shoe done people. Did your son ever do that? You get together in a group and walk to school?
No.
No, it's a different system in Tokyo.
And we're so close to the school here, it's not necessary, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, you probably know this, but a lot of kids, they'll get together and walk together in groups. You've probably seen them, right?
It's like a walking bus. Yeah.
Yeah. So my son and daughter, my son is not the worst. My daughter's really bad. They're the last two to join the group every morning.
Yeah.
And they're always waiting because they meet right in front of our house. So they're always waiting in front of our house.
They don't.
And it's so embarrassing for me, right? Because they're the last one. So I noticed that I started getting strict with them and saying, you have to do this, you have to do that, and giving them rules, making them create their own rules. Like these are the 8 things that you have to do every day. Yeah. So tell me 8 things you want to do every day. Like, okay, I should wake up early. I should brush my teeth 3 times. Okay, that's an easy one. But okay, I'll give you that one. And one of them is do some English. You have to study English for 15 minutes every day. He's got his app for kids that he does. Yeah. But the other one was get out there on time. So I push him a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, so I noticed that I think. Oh, so yeah. Have you noticed that some Japanese parents are super lenient? Like they ask their kids, "What would you like for breakfast?" And my parents never asked me that. It was like, "This is breakfast. Eat it. This is dinner. Eat it." But my wife asked them. I said, "Why are you asking them? They shouldn't have a choice."
Same here. And whenever I try to be assertive, my wife is like, "No, don't be like that. Ask him whatever. Don't." So because I get and now he's 15 now, so it's 14. So it's
14. That's amazing.
So he's not going to listen to anything anymore. So and honestly, it's one of those things where we were never really aligned. But I feel like I'm kind of more on your side of the fence, but I never got to really do it. I think about that. So I'm kind of with you on that, but I wouldn't say I succeeded or ever really did that. But I wish I had. So yeah, since you've got the chance, I think that's good actually.
Yeah. So my daughter wanted to quit dance class the other day because they had a new dance. They introduced a new dance, and she was not happy with the new dance. It was too hard for her. She's like, "I'm going to quit." I'm like, "You're not quitting. We already paid for the month."
Yeah.
You can finish up if you want to. You can finish up in March, right? But you have to finish up the term.
Yeah.
And then you quit. So and she agreed. So we asked her today, "Are you going to go to dance on Tuesday?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm going." Yeah. You want to go? Yeah, I want to go. But it was just a reaction.
All right. Sometimes they need the nudge, and sometimes, but if it's really a problem, then of course you got to listen to that. But you're right. If it's just like they're feeling bad on the day or whatever, I think I agree. I come down more on your side, although
But I
think I failed at doing it.
Yeah. Well, my wife doesn't like it either. She wants to give them a choice. And I feel like they shouldn't have a choice on certain matters. Like,
well, we have you've inflamed the chat, by the way, Victor. You had mean parents. I had to eat vegetables for tea, but breakfast was whatever you want, so long as you eat something.
Oh no! You think you need protein? You need a healthy breakfast if you're going to have something. But yeah. Well, anyway, that's one thing. So I want to be a better parent. But not in maybe a more popular parent, but a more balanced parent. Not just fun, but also make sure that they're.
I think that's a worthy goal.
Yeah. And there's one more thing that I thought actually has something to do with you and everybody in a way. I noticed that I don't invest any time really or effort into friendship now that I have kids, right?
Right. No, this is I think the norm, but yes.
Right.
We're all guilty of that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think that it's something that we should that the kids can. Oh, you got a Goodies T-shirt. That's great.
Yeah, I got this from the town. I got this from where they shot the Goonies, Cannon Beach, Oregon.
Wow, that's cool. Sorry, just noticed that. No, but I was thinking about my son and daughter as they see me as an example of what an adult is, right? I guess so. It's debatably their biggest influence. Or one of the biggest influences will be the way that I behave towards my friends and stuff. Yeah. So I thought, I should be a little bit more, and not just my friends, but my brothers and sisters.
Yep.
Right. So, which are friends anyway. So I think that I should try to invest a little more time and energy into friendship. which I have not. I've been pretty much ever since the kids came. It's not that I've been hiding behind them or using them as an excuse, but I've always prioritized
you just don't have
them.
time in the day. Yeah, and that's the right thing to do. But no, I think it's a trope, isn't it? You know that every used to have lots of friends and they all got married and had kids and never heard from them anymore. And it's not that they wanted to stop being friends. Indeed, everyone probably misses like that the life of not. But it's just when you have kids, you just don't have, especially young kids, you just don't have the time.
Right.
And you sort of, I'm. So this is where having my son a little bit before you, I'm coming out the other end of that a little bit now, where I'm starting to get personal time back, and I'm realizing, oh shit, I haven't like talked to people, in like more than 10 years, and you feel like that, but when the kids are small, of course you focus on them. That's so, but you know what, again, I agree, I think that's a worthy thing, and it's something I'm realizing now. It's like, oh shit, I want to actually, it's something going to America last year actually, you
had a lot of time to yourself then, I guess.
The most time I've had to myself in a long time, and it was like a lot of people saying, yeah, you must really be missing your family, and I was like, yeah. And I did, but it was also.
But you were on fentanyl half the time there. So.
I was on fentanyl. I was put onto fentanyl without consent. It was medical malpractice, but it felt so good I let them off. But no, but it was it was just that it was the right timing. That my son's old enough that he doesn't want to hang out with me all the time on the weekends anyway, and I'm starting to figure out, well, what do I do now that I have time back? And going to America was a good timing for me on that, but it also made me realize that, and when I think about my parents, my dad being in the army, we were always in army towns. All his friends were around, and we were in small towns. So I grew up with seeing my parents have friends and doing things all the time. And I haven't done that at all, and I don't see people doing that in Japan, and I feel like I've missed something doing that. So I agree. I think that's a great goal.
I think most parents don't, though. I don't see Yoko doesn't go out much with her friends at all. And
well, in Japan, I think it certainly is the norm that you go into a cave when you have kids, somewhat. And maybe in America, maybe the world has changed. But when I was a kid in New Zealand and Australia and Singapore, I grew up in an environment where my parents had friends when I was a kid and so on. And I would always play with my parents' friends' kids. But in Japan, that isn't a thing. Right? You don't take families over to other people's friends' houses.
Yeah, not at all.
You just don't hang out. It's not that sort of a culture, right? So
I've been to your house. I've been to your house, and that's a very rare. I think that was a very rare thing.
It is. You know what? You might be one of the only friends I've had that's ever come over to my house, actually. But you know what? Which is messed up if you think about it. But it's how it is. So you know what? Thinking deliberately about like investing time in friends I think it's good for you first and foremost. And I think it's something about the culture here that you're right is a thing. And I'm bought into it and I live here, but I think it's kind of wrong actually. So good call. I think those are both actually very much more thoughtful goals.
And I'm kind of
marathon and yoga.
I'm kind of a prick too. I'm kind of a. Just waiting for you to agree. No, I have high standards sometimes. So sometimes when someone does something I think is dodgy or stupid, I kind of just cut them off, or unforgivable. But or uncomfortable, whatever. Yeah. So I think that's I don't say this with any pride at all. I think it's a character flaw. If anything, I think I have to be much more forgiving. So I'm certainly not perfect. So I think I've done that in the past. So I'm going to try to maybe rebuild some bridges and.
Well, what I respect about you, Victor, is I think your default point with new people or strangers is I think you're a lot more open than I am in the starting point. While I agree that you'll be willing to say, oh, I'm done with that guy also abruptly, I actually always look at you as someone who's like, wow, you will take the time to listen to anyone, who I consider to be not worth the time. And those are real people. And you say, but those are real people. And I go, no, they're not. But they are. You're right, actually. And I'm kind of being the asshole, like limiting my intake. So you're an open guy.
Well, the other thing on the other side is arguing against myself, though. One thing I'm really good at is making friends with complete strangers. I mean, almost immediately. Like I'll go on the subway and I'll strike a conversation with anyone, Japanese or foreign. And my kids are always like, I think they notice that. I think they know that I
think they would. It's unusual behavior in Japan.
Yeah, but I'm really good at it. But I think in a way that maybe one reason I have not realized that I haven't been investing in friendship is that because I still have a psychological supply of friendly vibes coming from just the society at large. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
it's funny.
Co-workers or students or strangers.
One thing I really like is within America, you know how Seattle's known as the Seattle Freeze. It's like the hardest place to make friends in America, kind of.
I
It's
did
got
not
this
know that.
reputation for being kind of a difficult town.
Seattle?
But yet, Seattle. Yeah.
Really?
But even for that, I felt every day when I was in Seattle, I felt like I was in a musical. Like strangers always say, "Hey, how you doing, buddy?" I was like, "I'm doing good, pal." You know, like America is like that, right? Honestly, I feel like I should be walking like this.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was back there too. People are some people are so friendly. Like,
yeah, it's like, oh my god, what do you want? Can I have some? So it's kind of funny. It took me like a couple of weeks to get used to that. It was really nice, but it was like, are you for real? And then it's kind of funny. I got used to that, and I stayed there for 6 months, and then I came back to Tokyo. And my first week back in Tokyo, everyone felt so mean, and I was like, how could Americans like come here? Because everyone's completely like shut off, right? And even within Japan, Tokyo is particularly shut off.
Yeah, that's true.
And it took me about 3 or 4 days of adjusting, and then I was like bumping into people on purpose on the train and stuff like that after as well. I turned back into a Tokyo person.
Right.
But I think that it's actually admirable that I consider that kind of a positive American attribute, that you're friendly with strangers in the street. Like I like that, and I like doing that when I was in America, but I couldn't be like that in Japan, I don't think. But I like that actually, so I think it's great that you do that.
But I didn't know that about Seattle. I was in Seattle too, and I had a good time. I mean, but that was 33 years ago. So
yeah, Seattle's complex. There's a lot of out of towners and a lot of transient people in that part of the country. So the real Seattle people don't really open up to the people who are passing through, because they're not worth the sort of emotional investment is kind of the thing. So people talk about it's hard to make friends with real Seattle people in Seattle, but there's a big population of IT people and people who are sort of passing through.
Right.
But yeah, but the thing is, that was like the least friendly city in America, which I found overwhelmingly friendly. So,
and then you come back to the least friendly.
And then I come back to Tokyo, to the least friendly city in Japan, which I always thought was like fine, but it hit me when I got back. I was like, "Whoa, what happened to everybody here?" So yeah,
that's cool. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're going to see you on. Yeah, we're just at the hour point. So
Jimmy Carr, top of the.
But we're going to go to the Jimmy Carr show on January 29th, which is a Monday night, which is a strange night.
Yeah,
to have a comedy show. But I looked at his schedule. He's apparently going to be. Oh yeah. He does. I was trying to show my students. One of my students is going to be in Tokyo on the same day by chance. So I just mentioned, oh yeah, I'll be there too on the same day. She's going to an opera.
Yeah.
And I'm going to the Jimmy Carr show.
Classy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she wanted to know what he was like. So I pulled up a video on YouTube, which is a mistake.
Yeah.
But it's an anti-Muslim joke.
I mean, he goes for everybody, but yeah.
Yeah. So he talks about going to the airport, and so they ask him. Oh yeah, I have to tell you this story real quick before we go. He's at the airport, and he said, "This is his joke." I'm going to paraphrase, and the joke is not important. Of course, I'm not trying to make you fun, make you laugh, but I want to explain it because the situation is what confused students, and this is interesting from a cultural perspective. So his jokes, the setup is he introduces joke saying, "This next joke is kind of a doozy. It's going to go up and down. It's kind of a journey. It goes south really quick. It starts off fine, and it goes south." So he goes, I go to the airport, and they ask me to take off my shoes. And he says, "What's up, Heathrow? Did you get a new carpet or something? You want me to take off your shoes? I don't take my shoes off for anybody. I wouldn't take my shoes off at a mosque," which goes to show you that someone who as culturally insensitive as I am is probably not the man you're looking for. And that's the joke, right? It's very short. It's one of those shorts, right? Anyways, my students could not understand the setup, that the whole thing was fiction. Yeah. And they were like, "He doesn't take off his shoes at the airport?" They were stuck on this. They're like, "But you mean he's lying?" I said, "No, I'm sure he takes his shoes off at the airport." He goes, "Then you mean this whole joke is a lie? I don't understand." It just they could not understand the concept of stand-up comedy at all. I tried to explain that it's just a setup and showing the irony of he's showing that he's a bigot, and that's why he's probably at the same time this joke shows that he's also racist. But it's a joke. But could not get it at all. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I learned early on not to tell jokes. Like in New Zealand, Australia, same as America, you tell jokes to people, and jokes are stories, and there's a punchline, and you're just supposed to get the punchline, right? That's the whole point.
Right.
So, and that's how you interact with people in New Zealand. So I tried that when I first got to Japan, and I learned very quickly not to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
So I'll tell you, I had what I thought was a great joke, and my experience of first telling it to some very smart people made me completely give up on ever telling jokes.
So you are a New Zealander just arrived in Japan, and you're talking to Japanese people, and you're telling them a joke in Japanese or in English?
In Japanese. I translated this into Japanese.
Okay.
So there's a Rugby World Cup final. Of course, it's New Zealand, so it's a rugby joke. So packed stadium, Twickenham Stadium in London. Packed stadium. 100,000 people screaming as the All Blacks in England come out for the World Cup final. And a guy notices that there's every seat in the stadium booked out for months, thousands of dollars per ticket. And he notices that the seat beside him, out of the whole stadium, there's one seat empty in the whole stadium, and it's the one beside him. And he's thinking maybe they're late, maybe they're stuck or whatever, and the game's about to kick off. And the seat still isn't there. The seat's still empty. And he's like, geez, he can't believe it. Somebody had a ticket. They didn't use it for the Rugby World Cup final.
Right.
He sees there's an old man on the other side of the seat. He says, can you believe somebody didn't use their seat for the Rugby World Cup final? The old man on the other side of the seat. He turns around to him and he says, well, actually, that ticket, that seat belongs to my wife. We've actually been to every Rugby World Cup final since 1987. Every 4 years we've traveled around the world. And we had the tickets. It was her ticket. She had it for this one as well. But there was a terrible accident as we arrived in England. There was a terrible accident. There was a bus ticket, and she died. My friend's like, dude, is this a joke? And I'm like, yeah, bear with me. He's like, she died like 2 weeks ago. And the guy's, oh god.
So hold on, the Japanese person interrupted you to ask you.
Of course, they interrupted me at this point. When I mentioned that the wife died, everybody got like, wait a minute, this sounds serious. I'm like, no, bear with me.
I can see this in my.
Yeah, so he tells this tragic story. The wife came to England. They're about to watch the Rugby World Cup final. She just died in a car accident. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, my condolences. I didn't mean to judge or anything like that. And he sits there. The game's about to kick off, and he's like, but wait a minute. I mean, still, wouldn't she have wanted someone to use the ticket? Couldn't you have given it to a family member or a loved one or someone to use the ticket? Isn't that what she would have wanted? The old man, he shakes his hand and says, no. They're all at the funeral.
That's good. That's a good joke.
So my Japanese friend, who's very smart, he's like, so what you're saying is that, he likes rugby so much that he skipped the funeral of his wife, and that's how committed he is, and that's why the seat's empty? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, that's funny. And I decided I'm never telling a joke ever again. That's when I just decided it was time to give up on my comedy career in Japan. So I'm glad that Jimmy Carr is coming.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for keeping me company. See you very soon. And thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, thanks for everyone jumping in here.
Great.
It'll be the 29th, so we probably won't have time for one afterwards. But maybe we can do a post Jimmy Carr.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, just to see what happens.
That'll be about the right timing. Yeah, let's do that.
Great.
So cool. All right, well, see you soon. Thanks everyone for joining. I am tempted to hang around. Quick vote. If I do a live stream, if I do like a DJ mix after this, just play around on that. I think I figured out the sound stuff from last week.
Oh, cool.
Would people watch that if I do that? I might just do that just to hang out for a wee while. But anyway, that's 2.5 Oyajis. We are back every month, although we might be back sooner after Jimmy Carr.
Yeah, maybe one after Jimmy Carr. Maybe the 1st of January.
Maybe first week of January, whatever. Yeah,
okay. Let's try that.
Well, good to see you. Yeah.
Good. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Have fun. You gonna stay on?
Thanks, everyone. Your show? Boom. I'm gonna stay on. I'm gonna go off, and I'm gonna start up a new stream.
Okay.
With some music stuff after. Because I'll use.
Have a good one, man.
Software.
All right.
I will.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye. Okay, so everyone, just a word. I'm gonna start a new stream, so I'll share the link around on all the things. So look out for a new link starting soon.
Good night, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
That was good. That was fun. Oh, he's gone. Now I'm alone. Oh, maybe you guys are still here. I think everyone's still here.
Yeah, well, I just realized instead of ending stream, I just left the studio. that was a technical issue. We had to have one. It was going too well.
First one for you.
There we go. Okay, I'm ending the stream now.
I'll go.